This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we provide lists and agendas for anything you need. My name is Jason Schroeder, and today's podcast is about operational excellence standards. So why would you want to listen today? Do you get confused about what operational excellence looks like on a project? Would you like one simple checklist that describes what is expected? Do you want a tool to get your entire project team aligned? Well, if you do, if any of these things sound interesting, then please listen to our podcast today. We have some excellent content for you. So first, let me give you a story. So I remember in the beginning of my lean journey and going back to one of the projects where I was the lead superintendent, that there were some lean signs that the company had made, and this had come from efforts like Lean Core training and from the AGC Lean courses and from LCI. And there are some other companies out there that were doing these things. And on the top of it, it said Lean Project, and then there were some bullet points. And I remember the signs looked really beautiful, ordered them from Fast Signs. And if anybody knows me, they know I love signage and I love fast signs. So Yep. Especially if you're a project manager out there, you know you know that I love signage anyway. So I ordered 3 or 4 of these signs. I posted them as you go outside the trailer, on the fence, at the hoist, at some strategic locations. And I remember that the language really started to stick with all of the workers. In fact, some of the foremen would always say, well, hey, we're not doing this. It says it on your lean project sign. Why aren't we doing this? So they were declaring breakdowns. They were declaring deviations from what the sign said. And I thought to myself, wow, this is neat. This is visual. We're all seeing together. We're all knowing together. We're all starting to act together. This visual management, this signage, this is really big for our project. And I remember telling you before in one of the podcasts about a study that was done, and I'll tell you again because it's so pertinent, that a certain percentage of people throughout our country cheat on tests. They have ways to determine the percentage, but if you can trigger, or if people can trigger your subconscious to bring into focus your integrity, your standards, your rules, and to make that a part of your active memory, your active mind, your processing in the moment, then you have to come to terms with what your integrity is, what your standards are, and it's not some, out of sight, out of mind, distant, forgotten thing, right? And so they did a study where if they even posted the 10 commandments in that room or on the table, or had some other sign that triggered them to do the right thing, that the percentage of cheating, which was basically a national average, and it was pretty much a standard, that's what they get from these tests of finding out, who cheats, when, how often, what is the percentage, that people would cheat less by a large margin. And psychologists feel like, or determine, it's because you've brought those standards into the forefront of your mind, and then human beings have to deal with it. That humans will either justify not meeting a standard, get rid of the standard, or they have to meet that standard. That being in conflict with it, that dissonance, is not healthy for the human mind. And so, again, back to the example, you post a list of the 10 commandments on the table. Even if somebody isn't religious, the 10 commandments, the branding of that is have integrity, be honest, don't lie, don't cheat, things like that. And so people were more apt to not cheat. And so that really is the principle in my mind that we're dealing with when we post visual signs of the standards of operational excellence that we have to have on our projects. People see it, they know we're supposed to adhere to it, they know that it's a common standard, that they are expected to meet it, and they will declare breakdowns when they see that we're not meeting it, and it will become more of a culture because it's posted and because it's a commonly accepted set of standards. And I feel like this works when creating intentional cultures for your team in the conference room, guiding meetings, out on the project site, for a lean culture, for an operationally excellent culture. So I really enjoyed that experience with those signs, using those signs for a lean project, posting those signs and really starting to leverage them to build a culture on site. So let me give you a quote. Cleanliness, organization, and the right sizing of inventory buffers are a project's best indicator of health and stability. Now, when I went through the Lean Core training, I coined that little quote and I've modified it. It used to be cleanliness and organization. And then I said cleanliness, organization, and the reduction of inventory. And then I changed that to be cleanliness, organization, and the right sizing of inventory buffers are a project's best indicator of health and stability. And just like you check somebody's pulse to see if they're okay medically, you can check the pulse of the project by looking at these three things. So cleanliness is obvious. If the job site's not clean, then it's not run well and there's no control, because if a superintendent can't control cleanliness or a project team can't, they can't control anything. Organization will create many other wastes, put people into treasure hunts, will cause safety issues and a number of other issues on the project side. And then the other thing is large amounts of unneeded inventory are a huge problem. Whether you're controlled landing a project, crash landing a project, recovering a project, coming into a new project, managing the project, visiting the project, whatever the case may be, always look for inventory levels. And in my first quotes, I said reduce inventory. But that's not an intelligent way to say it, because there might be some things where the inventory buffer is bigger or longer, the duration is longer than others. So for instance, like unitized curtain wall, your inventory buffer for that one can be 2 to 4 weeks, right? But an inventory buffer for metal studs should be like 2 days. Inventory buffer for drywall should be 1 or 2 days. Inventory buffer for door frames, hey, I hope that we can get down to a week, but it might be different. So the right sizing of those inventory buffers, not having too much inventory on site that's waste, but not having too little that we're waiting on work, these things are key. So one more time. Cleanliness, organization, and the right sizing of inventory buffers are a project's best indicator of health and stability. And I think we need to remember that. So let's go to a couple of other concepts here that I really think you're going to enjoy. Trade expectations are not always our expectations. And because this principle is eternal, I'm going to say it again. I'm right now in a little recording studio in the back of my house, back of my property. It's very small. It's an 8 by 10. It's lined with these little foam tiles that absorb sound. And in this room, we've got an air conditioner. And it's funny, when I record book recordings, I have to turn the AC off because the noise starts to record in the background and it doesn't have good sound quality. When I'm doing this podcast, for instance, I have it on in the background because the gain on the recording is set to a level to where it won't pick it up, and I've got a cool little microphone. But the bottom line is when I turn the AC off, it gets really hot. But then when I close the door, I'm done with the podcast recording and I turn the AC back on and I put it to a set point, it comes back to that set point. It will get back to that original temperature. And the point there is wherever we have our set point is where the conditions will return. So if our trade partners, well, actually, let me give you this example really quick first. The other day on one of the projects where I oversee the project as a director, somebody came in and it was a trade partner, and this has actually happened multiple times. They came in and said, wow, this project is the cleanest project I've ever seen. But to us on the project site, we're like, oh, we want to do better with cord management and this and that. It's not up to our standards yet, but they're like, wait a minute, it's perfect. The bottom line is that people have different set points. Their set point was set to the industry average of dirty, gross, banana peels out on the outside, you know, piles of stuff everywhere, inventory everywhere on the project site, this messy project environment. Our set point on the project was set to perfect. And so when it's not perfect, we keep striving back to perfection. It's not good enough for us, so we want to close the gap. That's because our set point is higher. So whatever mental set point we have is where the conditions will return. So if you have a superintendent with a low set point, a PM with a low set point, team with a low set point, then we're going to have problems because the conditions will return to the set point. So what we need to do is amp that up and find the craziest, most psychotic person in the company on your team about cleanliness, safety, and organization, and start to see things the way they see it. And every great general superintendent, director, and good safety manager that I've ever met has either had their butt chewed by somebody with higher standards or been coached with somebody with higher standards or has been on a job with somebody with higher standards and got addicted. Everybody's had that experience. Me personally, I had a sit down where I almost got fired, where I had to elevate my standards. A real close buddy of mine, who's a field ops director, got his butt chewed by one of the corporate leadership team members when talking to safety. And I couldn't go through every GS that I've ever known. They've had a moment where they've really elevated their standards and they've had to come to terms with it. So we need to be focusing on our mental set points when it comes to cleanliness, safety, organization, and the right sizing of inventory buffers, because the bottom line is whatever the project looks like, that's how the superintendent thinks. And I bet you their desk, their truck, their home, the way they write, the way they do emails, everything else looks the exact same way. Wherever that set point is where the project's going to go. So I hope that little story was helpful. Oh, let me tell you one other thing. This really drove it home for me. Have you ever, and I'm not talking about races, I'm not talking about ethnicities, I'm not talking about country, I'm not talking about anything that would get you or me in trouble in this conversation. I'm talking generally, if your parents lived a certain way, you tend to live that way. If your parents were lower income, you will most likely statistically be lower income. If your parents were rich, statistically, you're more likely to be rich. Whatever your conditions are, you are statistically more likely to end up there because living in those conditions has put you at a mental set point where that's what you expect, that's what you attain to, and that's where you head your life. So that's just life. That's just demographics. That's just science. That's just statistics. That's what happens. And the same thing happens with us on our project sites. So whatever our trades expectations are, they are typically not what ours are. We need to elevate our expectations and get everybody to see like we see those conditions, those expectations, those conditions on the project. So let me tell you a little story from 2 Second Lean. If you've ever read that fantastic book by Paul Akers, you'll know what I'm talking about. And he talks about this company with the Hawks. That's the name of the company and the owners. They were 10 million, if I remember the story right, they were about 10 million in the hole as a business and they were struggling. And so they started to implement lean concepts. And so they started with 3S. It was basically a variation of sort, meaning get rid of what you don't need, shine, which means clean your area, and then straighten and organize your area. So 3S instead of 5S. They kept it really simple. And so every day they would come to work, everybody would be dressed the same, doing all of the same cleaning, focused on recovering that company, same goals. It demonstrated quality, it created a culture, and then that act of 3Sing all of their work areas every day, I think it was for an hour, created a culture where they started to reduce waste in every other system. They modified their desks, they modified their workstations, they made their workstations mobile. They started to focus more on customer service. They eliminated waste in their customer service, in their processes, in their operations. And they turned that company from being about 10 million in the hole to 10 million in the positive. And it was a fantastic turnaround. And so when a lot of these lean tours, these lean gurus go over to Japan, they'll visit this organization and people will get to go 3S their areas. And again, I'm going to be a little bit adversarial here. Some people in the lean industry will say, "Oh, don't go use 5S or 3S just on anything." That's not a standard thing that we should do. It has to be specific to the needs. And I disagree with that. I just want to be clear. I disagree with that. 5S, 3S, cleaning, organizing, and right sizing inventory buffers is the beginning of everything. Everything starts with cleanliness. Everything starts with that clean slate. Every drawing starts with a clean canvas. Every new lesson on the whiteboard starts with a clean, clear whiteboard. Everything starts in cleanliness. Your desk, your operations, your computer, your mind, your day, everything needs to be clear, clean, and organized. So let me start out with those philosophies and then let me tell you what the list of project conditions would look like. These are the expectations. Project condition number one, everyone knows how to be safe in their task. So that means when you go to a project site and you're walking with somebody, or you're doing a second set of eyes, or you're doing a safety walk, or you're doing a fresh eyes meeting or project visit or whatever, watch people. Do they all know what they're supposed to be doing? And is it clear that they know how to do it safely? Now, pre-task plans in our industry has really done a lot to increase our ability with crews to be safe with their circumstances on a daily basis. And so, does that project team have a way where all of the trades, all of the crews, all the foremen know how to properly utilize, fill out, assess the environment, and communicate and sign the pre-task plan, use that pre-task plan, and then modify that pre-task plan before they go too far into their systems? And does the project team have a way to audit those? And every company has different standards, right? Some things are meant, instead of with a pre-task plan, meant to be on a JHA or an AHA, a job hazard analysis, or an activity hazard analysis, whatever you call it. But does everybody on the project site know how to be safe in their task, by crew, by foreman? Number two, does everybody know what they're installing? Now, this is a big one. Don't underestimate this one, please. Does every crew, every foreman know the proscriptive and prescriptive expectations, the owner expectations, the designer expectations, the manufacturer's expectations for how to install their portion of the work? Do they know the alignment? Do they know what elevation to do to install the work? Do they know the substrate conditions? Do they know how to install it per the temperature requirements? Do they have a checklist? Do they have a visual feature of work board to where they know exactly how to install the work? And if the answer is no, we have a lot of work to do, because at the end of the day, I've heard all about these complex quality systems, these quality processes, these quality project implementation plans. But at the end of the day, does every crew, every worker, every foreman know how to install it in a quality manner and what the expectations are? And if the answer is no, we have work to do. Number three, is everybody on the project site, especially the foremen and the leaders, making improvements on a daily basis? Now, this can be done in a lot of ways. My favorite method is to use Paul Akers' 2-second lean method, where you learn the 8 wastes. Everybody on the project site learns the 8 wastes, learns about 5Sing, right? Then people start to let it annoy them, and they take incremental steps to correct these. And then they take before and after videos of their improvements. And on a project team, they'll share those. And I'm not saying that we would reward people for the improvements, because that's a part of the work. Paul Akers talks about that. But if they actually take the time to make the video, it's sometimes fun to have some rewards and some incentives, at least some praise, and review those in morning huddles, especially in foreman huddles, to make common improvements. And the first time I tried it, first project I tried it, I was able to get 175 really neat lean videos from the project site. Some companies can go do a large project, or in their company or in their office, go get 2,000, in a year or 2 years. I was able to get 165. But the bottom line is, are there systematic ways for everybody on the project site to suggest and to make improvements daily, to outpace entropy, to keep ahead of the work, and to do the right thing? Number four, are your bathrooms clean? Are your bathrooms remarkable? You can tell the culture of the project site and how successful it will be by how nice the bathrooms are. That's the first thing that I go check when I go to a project site. Somebody walks with Jason, they're like, where did he go? And I'm off over, put my gloves on, and I open up the porta potty stalls, check for toilet paper, check for cleanliness, check for graffiti. Your culture in your bathroom will be your culture on site. And so I recommend, whenever we can, to build bathrooms in your trailer, or in a facility, or in a Connex box, or in a mobile trailer, or somewhere, or do something, or have the nice big event bathrooms and have them cleaned frequently. Some people are like, well, I'll clean them once a week, or I'll clean them twice a week. Hey, $10,000 is not going to break the bank on our jobs. Get them cleaned at least 3 times a week, or every day. Like, what does it matter? If I, Jason Schroeder, wouldn't want to go to the restroom in the current conditions that we have on the project site, why would I ever do that to somebody else? Get those bathrooms clean. Spend the money. Hey, if you have to take it out of fee, spend the money and get those bathrooms clean. So that's number four. Always start your lean culture in the bathroom, your culture of project excellence, operational excellence in the bathroom. Okay. Number five, be good neighbors and take care of customer needs. You need to make sure to rally everyone on the project site to focus on the neighbors, to not impacting the neighbors, not impacting motorists, not impacting pedestrians, not impacting stores, not impacting neighbors for noise, and to take care of customer needs. And in fact, every morning or I'd say at least once a week in the morning huddles, I used to say, hey, what did the customer pay for? And they were trained after a while where one person would say, safety. Okay. What else? Quality at the source. What else? Take care of the neighbors. What else? Remarkable waterproofing. Okay. What else? Keep everything on schedule. They would repeat to me the 5 things that the owner paid for that we interviewed for on that project. So make sure that you rally your team around being good neighbors and taking care of the customer needs, because you can't really build a building. Let me say that again. You can't really build a building. Let me one more time. You can't really build this building unless you're doing it the way the customer wants. And if you survey customers, most of the time, how you get there is more important than what you did. Any contractor can go end up with a finished building. It's how we got there. Are you doing it the customer's way? Are you taking care of the customer? Are you being good neighbors? Number 6, nothing hits the floor. This is remarkable because at the research laboratory, we were focused on cleanliness. We were teaching people about pallets, putting things on greenies, making sure things were on wheels. And we communicated that. And one time, an assistant superintendent came up to me and said, Jason, this is simple. Nothing hits the floor. And I was like, that's brilliant. So we immediately branded that, put that into a phrase, and then that became a company-wide standard. And I hear that all over now. I'm not saying we created it. The universe probably inspired 10 or 15 different companies to do this at the same time. But the bottom line is no materials, no trash, nothing else hits the floor. Now, yeah, one person once told me, Jason, do you expect me to go up on my ladder, cut something, let it fall, go down my ladder, pick it up, put it in the trash can? I was like, no, that's silly. Get a bag up on your ladder. Get a bag up in your scissor lift and put the trash right in the bag. Or if you're at a cutting station, cut your 2x4 and let it fall into the trash can. Go get a gondola. Do whatever you need to do to make sure nothing hits the floor. That's the standard. That's an easy way, a simple way to describe what we expect on our project sites. Floors are clean, they're swept, they're beautiful, no materials, no trash, no other items hit the floor. Number 7, just-in-time deliveries and scheduled deliveries. So we need the correct sized inventory buffers for every delivery on site. The location where it's staged needs to be coordinated with the superintendent, and deliveries need to be scheduled and on time and at the hoist or at the forklift or at the entrance on time, or they need to be turned away. And the deliveries need to be just in time, meaning just in time to feed the right sizing of the inventory buffers. Number 8, all cords off the floor and managed in a remarkable way. Now, let me talk about this just a little bit. You can keep all cords off the floor. It really just is about how you tolerate it. Zero tolerance, taking people's cords, shutting down the job, putting up hooks, being nice to people, walking with superintendents, having them fixing it, having a designated person go through manager. I don't care how we do it. There's a way to keep all cords off the floor. Why is it important? Do you realize how much production we lose when people are trying to move cords to get scissor lifts past them, to get materials past them, to get carts past them, and the amount of safety risk that we have with slips, trips, and falls? It's tremendous. We have to keep the cords off the floor and managed in a remarkable way. Number 9, everything on wheels, greenies, or in painted pallets. When I told you before, when I have a building where there's a hoist operator, there's a single point of entry, and that hoist operator is deputized, nothing comes in here unless it's on wheels, it's on a greenie, or it's on a painted pallet. Not just a pallet, but a painted pallet. Every contractor has their designated color. We use that color for pallets. We use that color for in-wall inspections. We use that color for tag plans. The color is synchronized. And if I see a green pallet, I automatically know that's the framers. When I go through and use my texting system, or I'm talking to the foreman, or I'm doing my morning huddle the next day, I'm like, I saw a green pallet, level 3, area A. I want that bad boy out of there. That's like leaving a rattlesnake in the building. We need to we need to make sure we get that thing out of here. Okay, number 10, all access ways clear at all times. I really like to go back to the visual of the Empire State Building, where on every floor they had railway tracks around the corridors to get materials everywhere. Do we have enough space and clear space to have a railroad track and carts go through there without obstruction? Even though we don't have tracks, we should have clear access ways. I wish we had flooring types where we could just paint it on the floors and do visual systems. We don't always get to do that, right? But the rule number 10, the expectation number 10, is that all access ways are clear at all times. Number 11, organized workspaces. Everything needs to be organized. You've all heard the quote, a place for everything and everything in its place. That means trade partners and foremen's gang boxes organized, their staging organized, their laydown organized. Everything. If I do a job walk, I go out to the laydown area first. I want no trash. I want trash cans out there for people if they need them. I want it raked. I want it clean. I want it stacked. I want it beautiful. I don't want things on top of connexes to where it can fall off. I don't want things where they can blow away. Everything organized, everything in its place, a place for everything. That's expectation number 11. Number 12, pull work behind you. Nothing left behind. And this really works with tax planning where we have geographical control in geographical areas. When a trade partner moves out of their designated area, that means gang box is gone, greenies gone, pallets gone, materials gone, work installed, inspections done, area cleaned, swept, 100%. Pull the other contractors into the area, make a void, make a space where they want to be there. Don't make it to where you have to be pushed onto somebody else. That means nothing left behind. Clean and sweep your areas and leave a completed area of work. So these are the standards. Those are 12. You might have more. But when I go to a project site, those 12 things are key indicators for me about how well that project is run. And the current conditions in our industry is that projects don't have high standards. There is no clear standard that's published and posted. The rules are not out there on site for people to consume and follow. Supers are not trained to expect these kinds of things. It's just life as usual. Hey, here's a milestone. Everybody go figure it out, right? And then trades go from job to job with different standards. How beautiful would it be if all contractors, all GCs, or even just all jobs within one company had the same standards? And when a trade partner goes from one job to another, it was the same thing that, yep, I know what to expect when I come to this company. It's remarkable. I've been in those environments. It's absolutely remarkable. So the solution is to decide on your standards, post them for everyone to see, and then implement them with vigor and teach them. The bottom line is this. We really want people to just get it done. There's a million different ways to do it, and there's a million ways to not to. I can go do it. I know lots of supers that can do it. Can you do it? You can. You just have to believe in yourself. Don't give yourself excuses. It's not a different trade partner. You're not in a different region. It's not a specific circumstance. It's not that you don't have money. It's not. Get rid of all your excuses. You can do it. You can run a remarkable job with these 12 things. I believe in you. You deserve it. You deserve the money. You deserve the praise. You deserve the career growth. You deserve the promotions. You deserve to get home on time for your family. You deserve the wins. You deserve the self-confidence. You can do it. Go do it. Let's get it done. So, the reason we do this, as always, is to protect workers, train leaders, and preserve families. And so I hope this podcast has really helped. If you want any of this, if you want this in a list, if you want a sign made, we can have this branded at Fast Signs. In fact, I'll actually do that. So if you need to order that through my website, we can do that. The solution here is to really run remarkable projects. If you have any feedback for me, you want to do a podcast interview, or if you want further clarification, or if you want anything, reach out to me at jasons@elevateconstructionist.com and check out our website at elevateconstructionist.com, and we will get you what you need. Also, remember LinkedIn and Facebook, you can always get a hold of us. So until we meet again, check out these principles, see if you fall in love with them. Could you imagine a project that had these? Could you imagine going to every floor and having a little cleaning station where there's clean sweep, where there's danger tape and caution tape, where there's a fire extinguisher at every landing, where there's a project emergency response plan laminated there, there's an emergency exit map, where there's a map right there on your little floor lean board that showed the valve locations, that showed the tack plan, that showed these key wonderful things, where people could write down improvements. Maybe there's a roadblock map on there. Could you imagine going to a hoist where it's clean all the way up and down? Could you imagine a job where all deliveries and materials were where they needed to be? They were coordinated. Could you imagine a job where all deliveries were there on time? Could you imagine a job where every crew had feature of work boards where they knew what they were installing? Could you imagine a job where all pre-task plans were audited by 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning? Could you imagine a job where everybody's making improvements as a part of their work? What about a job where the bathrooms were remarkable, where the management team, the project management group went to the same restrooms as all the workers and they were beautiful? How would that be? Wouldn't that be cool? Could you imagine a project where neighbors were taken care of, where nothing hit the floor, where all of the deliveries were scheduled to be just in time and coordinated ahead of time? No cords on the ground, everything on wheels, everything on a greenie, or the pallets were painted and the access ways were cleared. Everything was organized, like I said before. And when you're a contractor and you owe an area, you pull other people behind you by leaving it better than you found it, like my dad always said. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine this wonderful Disneyland, remarkable, magic-like environment? And if you can crave it, you can want it, you can desire it, and you can take steps to go get it done. Until we meet again, on we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.